When I do location scouting from the comfort of my home, the first tool I use is Google Maps. Google Maps is brilliant because it allows me to find locations that I would not have found otherwise. And the great thing about it is people have already been to places you want to go and they've taken photos. And those photos have metadata. So Google knows where they're taken, and with a little bit of work, I can know where they're taken to. So you'll see I do a lot of location scouting. This is basically what the world looks like once I've visited it. I've been using these pins for 3.5 years or so. And if you go down to Greece here, you'll see this is where we've shot photography for beginners. You'll recognize this shipwreck if you've taken that course. I went to Iceland a couple of years back with Casey Kiernan, who's one of the co-instructors. And you'll see a bunch of locations that we've scouted here too. Scouting locations is really important because it saves you so much time when it comes to shooting. You know, I only had a week in Iceland. So with that week, I want to make sure I optimize my time as best as possible. So if I can come with locations in mind, or even if I don't even do any location scouting before I get there, when I'm sitting in a restaurant having lunch or dinner, or I'm waiting for the sun to set, I can sit on my phone and I can find these locations. Location scouting is incredibly valuable, and we're going to do a little bit of that now. So I don't want to cheat. I don't want to go to locations I've already been. I also don't want to go to places that are just naturally beautiful, because that's also a form of cheating, I guess. I want to show you how to find beautiful scenes everywhere. But let's see here, we have Jordan. So next month I'm going to Jordan. My girlfriend and I found some cheap flights over Black Friday and we booked tickets, and we've done basically no research since. You see I've saved a few places. So this is Petra, which you'll know from Indiana Jones. This is Wadi Rum. I believe they shot The Martian there, and there's some locations around Amman. I've watched a couple of YouTube videos. These are restaurants, I think, so far. Bookstore, restaurant. So we're flying to Amman, and we have a whole week in the country and we have no plans yet. So what we'll probably do is we'll spend a couple nights in Amman, and I'll hire a car so we can get around. Shooting landscapes, you often leave at unusual times and go to unusual places. So I want to have that flexibility of having a car. So I'm going to zoom in on the city now. And now that I've brought it up, let's close this quickly. I'm going to go to the bottom right-hand corner over here, and I'm going to select Show Imagery. And as I go across this, you'll see that a bunch of different photos are pointed out on the map. So we have photos here. We also have 360-degree views, and it's going to show us exactly where they are. One thing I will say is be very careful as to where these locations are, because sometimes it's going to show you a location that is not anywhere near this. I've done location scouting before in some countries, and it showed me beautiful views from totally different countries. And it's like, oof, that's a bit annoying, because now I have to go back and start again. But as I scroll across here, and as you zoom, this will all change. You'll start to get different views. But I can see this location looks quite promising. You get a nice sunset and a good composition, find a good location to shoot from, you'll probably get a really good photo here. Now, I don't know where this was shot yet, and if I Google Untitled, it's not going to show me. But if I click on Untitled, I can see that it was shot with a Canon digital camera, and it has most likely got GPS information saved on that photo. And Google's telling me, hey, that was shot here on this exact location. So now I can open this up, and I have basically no information on anything in this area, but I know the exact location that photo is shot from. So that's a great start. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this to want to go. You can save it to whatever you like. I just like to save it as want to go because it's easier for me to spot it in the future. So now I'm going to explore the area a bit, and I can see we've got water. There's a dam, perhaps. I think this is going to be the dam over here. And this is something to look out for. These, I think the hairpin roads they're called. These hairpin roads usually mean that there is some kind of altitude here. We have to climb up these roads using hairpin roads. And we can see here that because it's a dam, it's obviously going to be a bit higher up. And then this is some kind of viewpoint or some kind of center to look after the dam. So this was an okay location, but I think if I find one around here, I'm probably going to do a much better job when it comes to taking photos. So I think perhaps because the sun rises in the east and it sets in the west, perhaps shooting from over here is going to get me a really good sunset. Maybe it's over here, maybe it's here. Let's have a look. So Google Maps also has Street View. There's Street View images and there's Street View roads. Sometimes you won't find Street View roads when you do some location scouting. It's a bit unfortunate, but Google's actually managed to map a huge amount of the world with Street View roads. Let's see, here he goes. So this road has got Street View on it, but you also see all these little blue dots that come up. And these little blue dots are photos. So I already decided that over here is probably going to be a good place to shoot from. So I'm going to select this. And I can see we're actually down very low on a river here. But if I go around this bend, I'll probably get a good shot. Not really telling me much yet because not a lot of locations here. And it wasn't exactly a stunning photo. But I'll take it again. And this time let's try up here. So this one's much more to my taste. I think if I get a little bit closer in here, or maybe over here, I'm going to get a good photo of the clouds and the water and the dry ground. I actually really like this texture of the trees and the sand and the minimal grass. So I think that's actually going to be a really cool place to shoot from. I can also see over here, we have some kind of building, we have walls in the ground. So as I explore, I can see, okay, this is actually maybe a better place to shoot from. So let's go back now. And I think it would have been over here. Yeah, it looks as though over here would be a really cool place to shoot from. Now, that took me a couple of minutes to find. Doesn't take long, but now I can find a location around here. And let's say I want it to be here. I'm going to right click here and I'm going to go, what's here? It says unavailable, but now I have GPS coordinates and I can save that location. So when I open up Google Maps on my phone, I can say, take me here, and it's going to direct me from wherever I'm staying. So that's one version of location scouting. Now, I've just taken this on a whim here. I don't know where I'm going to visit yet. You probably know where you're going to visit. So we'll do this one more time. This time I'm going to find a slightly different location. Okay, let's go to Portugal. I've been to Lisbon. I have spent very little time in Portugal, so I don't have anything saved. And let's also choose, okay, this is a national park of some sort, I think. So we'll avoid that, make it a little bit harder for ourselves and go down here instead. So now I'm going to do the same thing again. You can see as I moved there, it changed the photos. So this is Sea View Place. A really cool beach to shoot from. It probably looks great at sunset. Let's move inland a little bit. If I'm using my drone, probably a cool place to shoot. And if I click on this again, it's going to tell me exactly where it was. We're very lucky these days that, you know, most cameras and all phones have GPS information saved to the photos. So location scouting has actually become really easy. So that's Google Maps location scouting. It's actually quite a fun process because you get to explore and get excited about your trips before you even get there. And something I am prone to do is to just go all the way out on Earth or on a particular region and just be like, okay, well, you know, I've not really spent a lot of time in Berlin, but I haven't spent any time really in Poland and very little time in the rest of Germany. So I can just zoom in like this and find locations in a country I've never been, but perhaps I want to visit. And it just gives me a little bit of inspiration for when I'm next passing. And it's a good way to sort of spend some time. So I've spent some time in the Czech Republic, but I've never heard of this place. And it's rather unlikely I would have found it or had any reason to go here had I not been doing some location scouting. And this is how we did a lot of the location scouting for our trip to Slovenia. So Slovenia, Austria, Italy, we stayed in Bled, which is around about, where are we? Bled here. And for some reason, only the hearts and the wants to goes are turning up. So all the places that I starred are not appearing here. I think it's because I did it on my phone, and there's still some issues with Google Maps matching between your computer and your phone. So they all appear on my phone, but for some reason on the same account, they're not appearing on my computer. But you'll see we shot landscapes around here, we shot landscapes around here, went to Manga up here, and it's all done using location scouting, primarily using Google Maps. So let's take another approach now. So let's say I want to go to Amman still. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Pinterest.com and I'm going to search Amman. And now I'm not necessarily looking for landscapes because it's a city. I know it's less likely. You know, if I go to Wadi Rum, I'm going to get you see, here we go. This is a location that I'm probably going to want to visit. That looks amazing. But where exactly is it? So let's see if we can find out where this is. So all it says now is Wadi Rum. And this leads us nicely into this next section, which is finding places that you want to visit on Pinterest, which typically have a lot less information, and then finding exactly where they were. So Wadi Rum is if I search Wadi Rum, and for anyone who's from Jordan, I apologize if I'm pronouncing this horribly, but this is a big area. So if I just search Wadi Rum and I get a photo like this, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find that. But I'm pretty sure, and I'm willing to bet re-recording this video on the fact that I'm going to be able to find this location. So the first thing I'll do if I have no information is I'll right click and I'll do search Google for image. And we can see there's an arch here. So visually similar images is the first thing I'll do because it's going to show me photos that have a lot of the same attributes. So Google Maps it's really intelligent, and it knows how to find photos that look very similar visually. They also use information on the photos. So it's showing us photos from Wadi Rum. It's not showing us photos from an arch in another desert. You know, there's an arch in Joshua Tree, but it's not showing us that information because it knows, okay, this is in Wadi Rum and it's an arch and it's a popular arch and it can recognize the shapes, and it's really become a very powerful tool for location scouting. Because although I might have found that on Google Maps, I did actually find it on Pinterest, and to reverse engineer exactly where it is on Pinterest, it's hard. Or rather, it used to be hard unless you know this technique. So now I have a bunch of different locations here. And I'm going to start with the first one. And what I would probably do is copy that and search it. This would tell me right away if I have the right term for that location. I don't know what this means in English, but if it says that arch you're looking at in Wadi Rum in a desert, then a bunch of photos of that arch are going to come up. And then it becomes really easy to find because you just search that term in Google Maps, you'll find it, and it's like that, it's done. All you have to do is save it from there. But from what I can see, it's not really, we have 2 photos, so probably not the name of this arch. But what I did also do is I clicked on visit, and now we have Lonely Planet. It's Lonely Planet in Italian. But I'm hoping as I scroll down, nope, it's not on here, okay. Not an issue. We'll go to the second link now. And this one seems to be Polish. We'll translate the information. And this is something I love about the rise of travel bloggers and travel vloggers, is they take photos of everything and they tell you exactly where it is. So rock bows at Wadi Rum, there is a bit of finding them, however, not the easiest task. Now remember, this has been translated from Polish, so the information is not going to be flawless when it comes to translated text. But wow, look at that. So I really want to go here now. So the question is, where exactly is it? So here we go, GPS coordinates of 2 rock arches that we managed to save. How brilliant is that? You know, they've saved that information for us, and this is increasingly common. So many people are using GPS information to show where they took their photos. So now I'm going to search this. It just says Little Bridge. I'm going to put it into satellite view so I can try and find the exact location, and that I'm going to assume that this is exactly right. And then I see there's a camp here, and I'm thinking, well, if there's a camp there and I want to shoot the Milky Way, that's probably a great place to stay. So I'm going to hit starred, want to go. And now we have a location to find one of those arches. Brilliant. Let's try and do the other one now. Big Rock of Karaz. Again, apologies if I'm butchering the pronunciation. The world view was not loading there, so I'm just going to go to satellite view. You can see that this is a little bit off, but perhaps if I open up the photo here, nice desert location. It's not an arch. I don't know if that blog post said 2 rock arches we managed to save. It might just be a mistranslation. That's something you've got to be aware of, is there's often mistranslations. The largest one, another rock arch. Oh, there is one there. So I think there is 2. It's just a case of getting to this. Oh, not this one. Not this one either. So I'd imagine in this location, or perhaps, you know what, I reckon this is the end of an arch here. So what you can do what we did before. Oh. Pick up your little man here. And there is the other arch. So it wasn't the exact GPS coordinates they gave us, but by using the same techniques as before, I'm able to find the other arch. So let's find that again. And I can just go and I say, right, well, I know it's over here. I'm just going to right click. What's here? Save, want to go. So I've found some locations in some really interesting parts of the world, but this methodology, it works everywhere. You know, you can use it in your backyard. You're going to be able to find some really cool locations if you just know how to look for them. And Google Maps is definitely my favorite tool. So we've used Google Maps, we've used Pinterest. Let's do some more on Pinterest again now. So let me go for Amman this time. You're going to find a lot of posts like, you know, what to do in one day, 10 places to go. On YouTube as well, you'll find a bunch of videos. People love to share where they've been, how they got there, what to pack on your trip to Jordan. I'm just going to go, I think I actually know where that one is, so we won't do that. But let's go to this view here. I particularly like finding like very specific views and finding more information about where they were shot from. So this is probably not going to have the most information ever because, you know, it looks like what is probably an average street in Amman. So if I open this up and I do a search Google for image, we might get lucky. Visually similar images. So no one else has taken a photo from that exact spot, but let's say I wanted to recreate that photo. So now I'm seeing that I'm not finding that exact location, and you're not going to get 100% results every time. But what I will do is I'll save the image. And then I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to get info. And if you're lucky, you might get some GPS coordinate information. Another way to do this is to do a metadata search. So if I go for view photo metadata, I'm going to drop my file in there, and if it has some information like GPS coordinates and you don't know how to find it on your computer, you'll find it through this instead. So no GPS coordinates on this, but we have been able to find visually similar images in Google, which is helpful still. But I would also say a lot of these blog posts, a lot of the photos you see in Pinterest, or on Pinterest rather, do have some kind of post attached to them. So if you click on any of our posts or our photos on Pinterest, it'll take you back to our blog posts. So let's see if we can find one like that now. So here we go, top things to do in Amman, Jordan in 2018. CarpeDiemOurWay.com. So another travel blogger, I should think. Now this was published in 2016. They've just edited the title. But all the same, I think there's probably some really cool things to do here. And as you can see, I think they're probably going to provide some pretty good locations. So I can see here, the Citadel, Roman Amphitheatre. Nothing too nothing too revolutionary, but it's pretty cool all the same. Pinterest is a goldmine for location scouting. It's going to save, it's really hard to estimate how much time it will save you. But not only do I get better results, I've discovered locations I would never have thought of, and I save an incredible amount of time by coming prepared. My poor girlfriend, bless her, I don't want her to sit in the hotel room for 2 hours in the morning where I'm like, wait, I'm trying to find where we're going. How do I get there? When you're traveling with people, and I know that a lot of people, all right, so this is a spam link, a lot of people don't have the patience to sit and wait for you to get ready. So you owe it to yourself and the rest of your party to come prepared. And that's what Pinterest and Google Maps allows us to do. So Google Maps, Pinterest, reverse image search, all great ways of capturing locations in Amman and, well, anywhere in the world. I'm searching for Amman here, but you can capture great locations just by doing the research using these three tools. There is one more tool I'd like to talk about, and that's Instagram. So Instagram, hashtags, locations, these are used every day. Every time you post to Instagram, if you want to get likes, you want to add hashtags and you want to add locations so that people who are exploring these hashtags and locations will start to find your images and you'll be able to gain more followers. But remember, other people are doing this, so they're allowing you to do your location scouting with their photos. So let's now go on to Instagram. We're here on my Instagram profile. If you're not following already, go ahead and click follow. Bit of shameless self-promotion there. Instagram is quite similar to Pinterest. Now, there's common misconception about Pinterest, and people seem to think that it's actually social media, when really it's not. It's content discovery. Content discovery allows us to find images, blog posts, locations, and Instagram's social media, but it also has content discovery in it. So if I go to Wadi Rum, and I scroll down, you're going to see lots of photos. Now I know this isn't Wadi Rum, I know this isn't Wadi Rum, but it's probably popular travel bloggers, who just go to lots of different locations and then they get lots of likes. And because of the tags they use, they come up high in the search results. So you need to filter out some of these. Typically what I'll do is I'll scroll past. So as I remember, Instagram used to be in chronological order, meaning the latest photos were at the top. Now I believe it's changed, so there's a bit more diversity. So some of the more popular ones, but not quite as recent photos, will appear at the top too. And I'm basically going to use the same approach I use for Pinterest on Instagram. I'm going to go through and I'm going to find locations that I like, and see if I can find where they were shot. So here's one that I haven't seen before. I'm going to open this up, and there's basically 3 things I'm looking for. I'm looking for the hashtags, I'm looking for the person who shot it, and I'm looking for the location. So this says Wadi Rum Nomads. That to me sounds like a tour company. And yeah, I can see that lots of photos around Wadi Rum, which at least narrows it down a little bit. And we can see some cool shots here. So this is a steam train is running through the desert, and that's a location I'm going to want to scout out. So we'll come back to that in a minute. I'm also looking at the hashtags. Is there anything here that's related to Wadi Rum that isn't hashtag Wadi Rum? And as I see it, no. And then I also want to look at the person who's posting it. Are they a photographer? No, just looks like a regular guy into climbing. If they're a photographer, we can take a different approach. So let's see if we can find someone who's a photographer or a travel blogger. Don't worry, be camper. So this sounds like, yeah, it's a couple travel blogger account. And you would not believe how many travel bloggers there are in this world. It is incredibly useful if you're a photographer, because they do all of the location scouting for you. You don't need to worry about it. And if you search their websites as well, now this is in Spanish, and it's automatically translated. But if I search countries and I go to Jordan, Petra, Wadi Rum, here we go. We got some information on Wadi Rum. And this is just, this is using Instagram the same way I use Pinterest. We've got some really cool locations. I could probably leave a comment and say, hey, where did you shoot that? What do you do there? How do I do that myself? And they'll probably reply. Travel bloggers love comments. They love having engaged people. And if I'm lucky, they probably also have, it depends on what they shot with, but they might have GPS data on these photos. So let's go and try and see if we can get GPS coordinates from one of these photos. Not really expecting much, but let's see this one, for example. So I just use a standard metadata viewer. Let's save it to desktop again. So metapix.com is what I'm using here, because I can drag it in here and it might show me GPS coordinates. It's not showing me GPS coordinates. Can't always get lucky, but I'm pretty sure I can find this information. If I message them on Instagram, I message them in the comments, and that's only if I find something here that I don't think I can find myself. So I've already spotted this earlier on in the video. You'll notice it was like part of this arch, I think it was, or a different arch. I've already found a bunch of information, so I don't need to go to them again and be like, hey, can you tell me exactly where this was shot? There's nothing new or particularly unique here. So I'm going to go through now, and we can see Wadi Rum Nomads. This is cool. There's a car here. I'm not seeing anything related specifically to Wadi Rum. The Glober. Yeah, nothing specific. And you'll find that some locations, they just don't have, especially a national park like this, unless it's something like really specific, like Little Arch we discovered earlier. If it's Little Arch, they'll probably have some information. All you have to do is search Little Arch on here, and you'll find, in fact, let's have a look now, actually. Wadi Rum Little Arch? Maybe not. That's if it was even called Little Arch. I can't promise that I remember it exactly. Okay. Here we go. Hashtag there shows us again Wadi Rum Nomads. So it tells us we're in the right spot. Now I'm not seeing anything in here that is Little Arch, vacation, holiday. Nothing particularly photography related. If you can find photographers, they're really helpful. Some photographers, when you message them on Instagram, you can't do it on desktop, but you can on your phone. when you message them and you just say, hey, I really admire your photography. I'd love to know where you shot that photo. Can you help me out? A lot of them are more than happy to just be like, sure, absolutely. They're flattered for the compliment and they'd love to help. Some will want to keep it to themselves, and that's fair enough. If you spend an hour doing location scouting, you probably want to make sure that when you go back, it's not going to be surrounded by hundreds of people trying to get some Instagram profile picture. You want to keep some of these places to yourself, and that's fair too. It just depends on how popular these locations are already, I found. So you can totally do that. But as I go through, I'm finding a bunch of locations, and I would just take the same approach I did with Pinterest and Google Maps. I'd see if I could find GPS coordinates. I'd do a reverse image search, and I'd see if I can find any information related to that location. So let's try, I think Wadi Ram Nomads was, let's have a look. Let's go back on this one. So actually, I just noticed something as I was scrolling. Yeah, so someone who puts white borders around this is like, they're taking real pride in their photography. So they might be a photographer, we don't know, but we can have a look. Nope. But here, let's go ahead and have a look at this steam train. So this is a really cool steam train. I want to know how they shot it. So you can download the image if you use an extension in Chrome or Firefox or whatever tool you're using. It doesn't allow you to do it natively, but I have that installed usually, so I can just hit download and I can do a reverse image search. Instead, I'm pretty sure steam train locomotive Wadi Rum is going to show loads of results, so we'll just do Wadi Rum steam train. We've got loads of photos. You can do the same process again. I won't repeat myself. And we can also search in Google Maps. So we're not getting anything for steam train, but if we just put like train station, here we have Wadi Rum and we have the train station. Open this up and we've got a bunch of images. And you can see there's actually a few trains. I wasn't aware of that. And I'm sure if you go here or you search more about this location, or I don't know, perhaps they even have a website. It's a government website, which means it's probably going to be more up to date than some of the other pages you find. Although I wouldn't put money on it. Stations, employees corner, museum, about us. There's probably a bunch of information here which will allow you to find those exact locations. And if there's, for example, the photos we just saw here, they all seem to be within the train station. Maybe this one's not, but this, for example, I don't know if it's the same train. It might be the same train. I'd imagine they move along the track still a little bit, maybe. I don't know. But if there's multiple trains and you can go to multiple locations, I think I'd rather visit this train here than the ones in the train station. So if you find this location, you're probably not far off finding like a really good spot to shoot from. And of course, we can always go back here and do what we did before. Open up images. Or Mr. GPS man, and find this train. And they look like they're scattered all the way down this track, which is awesome. So that's how I do location scouting from my computer. I use Instagram, Google Maps, reverse image search, and Pinterest to find great locations and always come away from my trips happy with my photography. The location is really one of the most important parts. And if you get that right, you're going to be very successful with your photography. The next step is, of course, planning with the weather and the time of day, getting your settings right, working on your composition. But if you can find a good location, you're really doing yourself a good favor by making sure that you know exactly where to go to get that shot. So that's location scouting. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment. Cheers.